Hi, everybody. It's Tom and Tom, and we're here on a Wednesday because it's the hump day. We thought, let's talk about something super exciting like evidence, research, and stuff like that. I think Tom wants to school us a little bit.
On evidence. I'm going to go back to a story. It's almost 15 years old when I wrote a book for the Entrepreneur Press called The Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising, which I was very, very proud of at the time. And I was trying to make it really easy for somebody utterly new to digital advertising to read the book chapter by chapter and to get good outcomes if they chose to, if their business fit advertising on Facebook at the time. And people would come up to me when I started talking about the subject, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I spent $35,000 on Facebook advertising, and I didn't get any good results." To which I would nod, and then I'd go, "Yeah, don't do that."
Here's a hint. Pro tip. Stop.
and, and it's like you can get feedback at that time on Facebook with a digital advertising, really good feedback for about $50. And that feedback is a value that you fundamentally uh, describe as evidence.
Right. And I've been there. And I've done the $50 thing, even $25.
Yeah.
I mean,
And so,
if you're expecting to get a hit of, say, 1 in 1,000, well, that's 1%. Or rather, I'm sorry, 10 out of 1,000, 10 hits out of 1,000, or one
yeah,
out of 100, let's say. Then, if you've spent enough money for 100, which might only be $20, and you don't get one, you could say it's a
yeah.
low performing ad.
At that time, especially if you had targeted your group, you knew your demographic, or your psychographic that you were targeting. $50 might get you 3 or 4 thousand impressions.
Right.
And if nobody clicks and nobody engages in a subsequent offer, nobody engages you in conversation, that's evidence. If every 25, using your number, 50, using my number, dollars you spend is evidence, you've ignored an awful lot of evidence to spend $35,000 and not have any customers.
Right. It's like
You,
I ran this ad for for 1,000 people and nothing happened. Let me try 50,000 people.
50,000. Or, if, imagine what, at the time I wrote that book, it's a long time ago, it was early days of advertising. I had one gentleman who I knew who was advertising. He was getting impressions so affordably that they literally didn't show up on the monitor because they were a fraction of a penny.
Wow.
the So you could buy impressions really cheaply. When you put in, if you get an impression and someone responds or doesn't respond, they click on your ad. That's evidence. It's evidence at the very least that you wrote something that someone finds it interesting to click on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to me that's like just one of the three types of evidence that you can use. And probably the best kind of evidence. You don't always have the luxury of that kind of evidence. So
And in my at the time it was a student. He had the evidence of the click. Generally, we taught them put an offer something free, something of interest. See if they click on and order that. Then you have the evidence of, did they order that? Was your first click good? Was it the right sort of person? Did they follow up and ask for more information? And then you have the evidence of those people who go through that second gate. Did they buy? And the idea that in Facebook advertising and in digital advertising, you can close these evidence loops sometimes in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
It's like there was a great deal of opportunity to gather evidence on each of those and maybe all the way to a close in less than a day.
Right.
So if you were spending $50 a day and each one of those gave you evidence of the success of your path all the way to a close, $35,000 is a lot of money to spend ignoring all the evidence along the way. So that's just one example of evidence, but it's one that's near and dear to my heart.
If you indeed did that, if you just decided to spend this much money and put together what you thought was a really good ad, just ran it, which some people would do rather than testing first. But the point is, all of the things you mentioned are one kind of evidence. And they're the reason I say it's the best kind of evidence, because it's actually testing the product itself, the outcome of the product. In this case, the product is the ad platform, and you're using it and testing the results from it. You can't, like, if you've built a product, clickstream data is that kind of evidence. It's what people actually did with it.
Yeah.
That's the best stuff you can get. But if you're an
marketing is fun that way.
Right. If you're an entrepreneur and you have an idea for a product, you still want to have evidence and do research and figure out before you build it whether it's a good idea. You're looking for some indication that there's a product market fit. And you may have to look at indirect things. You may have to talk to people and get feedback from them. It's not as good as what they actually do, but it is evidence, and it's better than nothing, which is what a lot of entrepreneurs go on, is their gut, But if you've talked to people and maybe even built a sort of a mock-up kind of prototype of the product and get it out there so people can touch it and feel it, then that kind of feedback is the next best thing. But the other kind of evidence is even more nebulous than that, which is, more like tangential experiences and similar situations and things that suggest something are valid as evidence if that's all you have.
Yeah.
But in that order, that's the worst kind of evidence. The sort of mock-up, similar experience kind of evidence is the next best thing. And then the hard evidence of actual experience with the thing that you're testing, that's the best evidence you can get. And a lot of companies don't even software is easy, because if you're deploying software as a service or in the cloud, you can get clickstream data really cheaply, and it'll tell you what people are doing. I worked for a company that had millions of subscribers, and we had an idea for a new feature. And I said, why not just create a page that has a link to the feature on it, and when they click the link, it goes to a page that just explains, look, we're exploring this feature. The fact that you came here tells us that, you might like to use it. If you're interested in answering a few more questions, here's a survey. And you could put something like that on the website. Oh no, we don't do that. I'm like, what? What? Oh, that would be like tricking them. I'm like, okay, maybe it is a little bit, but how much inconvenience are they going to stop using your product because you did that for a few days? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But
I was working with a company that ran sort of like a co-op, right? It was a member-owned insurance company, and they were and they had unfortunately made certain changes very expensive. So like if they wanted to add to their auto insurance, motorcycle insurance, it was going to be like a $25 million programming initiative or something crazy. The and I'm like, well, why don't you put up a little ad in your app as it's running and say, would you like to buy motorcycle insurance, and see how many people click? And they were like, no. They gave the exact same complaint you were like, and I'm like, why don't you put up then, like, I don't want to do that because it's tricking people or it's getting data or it's not, and we don't have it. And I'm like, why don't you put up an ad that says, hey, we're member owned. Are you willing to opt in to occasionally asking questions about the products we could give? And then only do that to the people you know how many of their people would have said yes to that? I bet you like 80% would have opted in and been willing to volunteer. They get checks back from that company every year on, they get refunds on the product. It's member owned.
you know what?
It's
Put a thing on the page if they click it. Put a thing on the page saying, "We're sorry. This may seem like we tricked you, but it's just, like apologize for it if you don't, you know."
they'll opt. I mean, in my case, it's like, look, they'll opt in to answer some questions every
Yeah.
now and then. It's
If
just, it's people aren't in the habit, and I think they don't want evidence.
maybe
I,
I mean,
they're
sometimes the
afraid of
truth
it.
hurts.
You don't want to, I would ask when in other companies and in this one, I'd ask, hey, you released a feature. Great. How many people clicked on it? Oh, we don't know. Mhm. It's like, did this, we did an estimate on the ROI for this feature. Did we achieve that ROI? We don't know.
Yeah.
The, so it's very common, to not collect evidence in companies large and small.
It's wild. I mean, every SaaS platform I've been involved in, we we collected almost all the clickstream data. For those of you listening who are technically minded, we use something called Kafka, which I think was developed by Netflix because they
Mm.
capture every click you make. Every single thing you do on that site, they know what you did, when you did it, how you did it, where you did it from, what time it was, everything. And they pour through that data because it tells them very often what they need to do, what they need to
Yeah.
change.
And it's delightful when they're using it for you, but then Netflix reached a period where they used that data against you. As
Well,
their mark, as their, it's like the downside of evidence
right.
volunteered by the customer.
Yeah. It's like we're in this world now where my AI says, "Hey, would you like to share all of your personal information with me so that I can personalize your experience with me?" And I'm like, maybe not all of it. And they let me pick. I'm like, okay, this, and this you can have. That, and that, no.
And before we wind up this subject, I wanted to hit that real sort of really in your face evidence, but you do talk a lot about soft evidence as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, recognize that it's soft evidence, but it's like, no, somebody told me this. Or even softer, it's like, assuming someone really did tell you, and I use that evidence all the time in a startup where maybe I'm testing a product with 10 people. somebody telling me something, I'm paying a lot of attention to it. I'm only sampling 10. If one tells me that's interesting evidence, I maybe won't make a choice on that. If two do out of 10 make the same complaint or observation, I start paying really close attention.
Yeah. It's a small sample, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's all the evidence I have at the time.
Yeah. You do need to be careful. I I met this brilliant marketing person named Deborah Power here in the Ann Arbor area, and Deborah was very data driven in the way she operates, and she told us that she used to do focus groups, and she quit because she realized over time that people don't do what they say. Like she'd have a room full of people all nodding and going, "Oh, I definitely use this product," and then they themselves wouldn't buy it.
There's-
It's like when you say would, what does would mean? It means if you paid me, I would use the product.
there was a wonderful story, and it was written up in the Wall Street Journal of the people who created the very, very successful Keurig product. And, that was doing so well, and they were making so much money, they decided to do cold beverages. And they spent a lot of time in hundreds of millions of dollars. And they finally, and cutting deals with Coca-Cola and beverage so that you could literally get it to make you a Coke. And I know all the time they very like these are some people who were very clever. So I know they asked people, would you be interested in buying this product? The problem is after they'd spent all of that money, cut all of those deals, they finally had a product in the box, on the shelf, in the big department stores, price that I forget what the price was, but it was like a couple $100, and no one bought. And even then I was like, man, maybe at the very beginning you should have gone to the art department, mocked up a box, put a price tag on it, had nothing in it, gone to department stores and see if anyone would buy it at the price that you thought you needed to hit.
Or
Right?
maybe
The
go to the
I
aisle
built,
where that product would be located and
yeah,
notice that there's an Israeli company called SodaStream already there.
it's been before SodaStream, but
Oh,
they were doing truly cold beverages at the time.
yeah.
I mean, it was like going to be your own on-demand Coke dispenser or whatever. It's like, but no one was going to write the couple $100. You could buy a Keurig machine for $40 or something, and people just weren't going to spend the money. And it was a bigger machine. Whatever the assumptions were, their evidence, and I know they gathered evidence, their evidence was poor.
Yeah. Well, raise your hand if you have a soda machine sitting on your counter. And nobody's hand, very few people's hands are going to go up. But if you ask somebody, raise your hand if you have a coffee machine on your counter. Well, now everybody's hand goes up. And guess what? If you have a better coffee machine, they can throw their old one out and put it right where that other one was. Now you're talking about adding another appliance to the counter. That's a big deal. Most kitchens don't have unlimited counter space for another thing.
Well,
You
and
gotta,
people were boiling water
yeah.
and spending time making coffee. You know what people did to get a soda? They reached into their fridge and they added about 3 seconds.
This is the thing. This is what research does for you. We've talked before about Intuit's follow a customer home thing. I mean, this is how you find out whether your product works is try to get it someplace. And then when you try to put it there and they complain about it, then that's real hard evidence.
Yeah. And it's an easy mistake to make. But hey, at the very least, if you start with the value of evidence, you got a better chance of going, the continued question, which is, By the way, should I spend several $100 million developing a product that no one wants to buy? And my advice would be, yeah, don't do that.
Or if you don't like them, yeah, go ahead.
Spend $35,000 on advertising that doesn't deliver a single customer. When you
Yeah,
could run an experiment for $50, yeah, don't do
right.
that.
Yeah. Or,
Evidence is a value. Build it into your system.
yep, good point. All right. Hopefully you learned something today. That's our goal for these things. If you have a story about evidence, or if you like this podcast and want to tell us, you can drop something right in the comments down below here, and we will see it because we look. And if you got this far in the podcast, do us a big favor. Please help us out and click that little subscribe button. It's right down there. It's easy to find. It says subscribe. And then we'll make more of these, and we promise they'll all be every bit as good as this one, maybe better. And we'd love to talk to you. Reach out to us at beintentional.biz. And until next time, I'm Tom.
I'm Tom.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.